Hey guys, so I've got a live one for you today. So someone sent me a video by a user called Adam and Brennan, I think. I've really got a bit tired of the theist/atheist debate, but I'm going to respond anyway. Let me preface this by saying that this is another argument, presumably from a theist, that being an atheist makes you depressed or depraved or whatever, as if our feelings about the universe somehow have an impact on the truth. This one's framed in the idea of determinism, so if this isn't your cup of tea, go ahead and wait for my next video. And if you're still here, let's take a look at what he has to say.
Alright, so I'm going to prove that all atheists and most scientists and physicists are nihilists, are totalitarians, are against free will, and are probably depressed. And this may sound shocking, but it's surprisingly elegant and straightforward, and you're bound to agree with me when I'm through with this.
Wow, that's a really bold claim that I've never heard before. I can't wait to agree with you.
And so these atheists subscribe to the scientific method, and the scientific method and science tells us that the universe is governed by a specific set of physical laws, and it doesn't deviate from that. That is the way the universe is, and it's constant. Always has been and always will be since the Big Bang. And we don't know what's before the Big Bang, but they just come up with a bunch of mumbo jumbo for that as well.
Now, I don't want to belabor this point too much because it's all been said before, but please do yourself a favor and actually learn a little bit about the Big Bang before you tell atheists what they believe. If the Big Bang model is accurate, there's no such thing as, quote, before the Big Bang. The statement itself is nonsensical. Time itself was, quote unquote, created with the Big Bang along with the rest of the universe. You might as well be talking about what happened in Utah before the Earth existed. Makes no sense.
Now, these laws are used for predictive purposes. You can take these laws and predict, both on small and large scales, what's going to happen. So, the question is, if you can understand, in theory, what's going to happen in the universe, does that mean the universe is deterministic? And the answer to that question is yes. And here's an analogy that makes it simple to understand.
Here he launches into a completely unneeded analogy using marbles or whatever. His point's that if you believe science, then the universe is deterministic. Go on.
And so this is the inevitable conclusion for any atheist and for any man of science. And so the question is, if that's the case, and I know that they think it's the case, what's the point? If everything you're ever going to do is already predetermined based on a bunch of chemical reactions that occurred 3 billion years ago, or even 13.7 billion years ago at the moment of the Big Bang, what's the point in continuing on this little fraudulent charade?
Well, not all atheists are determinists, and not all theists are science-phobic either. Science works. It's undeniable. It's unarguable. What do you mean, these scientists? Anyway, you write in MS Paint there that it's like watching a movie where you already know the ending. Except we don't, do we? Assume that the universe is, in fact, deterministic. If we have the illusion of free will, which you grant, and we don't know the future, please tell me how that's like watching a movie where you already know the end.
That you actually have free will. And of course you don't think you have free will because your brain is all part of this system. Your brain is just a complex network of neurons, which can be broken down further into chemical compounds and things like that make decisions based on the rest of the universe. And everything just works in perfect coalition to give the illusion that you actually have free will. So, therefore, an atheist has the inevitable conclusion that the universe is deterministic. Therefore, he has no will because he's been destined to do, and he's been destined to make every decision he'll ever make since the moment of the Big Bang, perhaps even before that.
Stop saying before that.
And so he definitely does not believe in free will, which is a terrible quality. He's a nihilist, meaning that He doesn't really think that anything, our lives, have a purpose, because you're basically just a puppet to the laws of the universe, even if you don't think you are.
Did you get that, folks? Not believing in free will is a terrible quality. Make sure to always believe what gives you the best feeling. I really like the movie Reservoir Dogs. So I believe we're in a Quentin Tarantino movie, and Quentin Tarantino himself is God. Not believing this is a terrible quality. And we're all just a puppet to the laws of the universe? As opposed to what? Being puppets of God? Oh, right, God gave you free will, right? Except that he has a plan for you, answers prayers, and judges you based on your thoughts, which will result in your eternal torment if you think incorrectly. Yeah, atheists are puppets. That's seriously, absolutely fucking hilarious. Good show.
And, I mean, authoritarian and fascist and all those things are just kind of like insults that I threw in there.
Moron, idiot, child molester. Oh, those are just insults I threw in there.
But nevertheless, it leads to the sobering reality that you can be an atheist. You can think that your observations and that your science puts you on a pedestal above the rest of the irrational world. But really, you're not gaining anything except for this worldview that really takes all of the fruit out of life. And that's a metaphor, by the way. But the solution to this little issue is accepting the fact that there is a God and that things are not predetermined, and then he constructed this universe with the concept of free will in mind, and therefore the universe is indeterministic. You can choose your own path, and you're not a puppet to a set of physical laws and to a set of these really disgusting quantum principles that decide what you're going to do.
I should just let that hilariously ignorant statement stand on its own, but I'm just going to sum it up. The only way to escape reality is to believe that there is a God, and all the equations and laws you mentioned at the start of this video are just what? Inconvenient? Mean? You even try to say it's not a very satisfying philosophy. This just about says everything that needs to be said. You freely admit that your worldview is based on what you think is more pleasant rather than what reality tells you. Why do you stop there? If you're going to base your worldview on what's most comforting to you, why not invent something way cooler than Christianity? Scientology's pretty rad, but I hear it's pretty expensive. Being a Mormon would let you have multiple wives, which is kind of cool. Why not just invent something totally new and interesting on your own, though, instead of being so damn unoriginal? While you're doing that, the rest of us will be living in the real world, and as theists like you never understand, the universe is so much more interesting and amazing when it isn't a magician's trick. I'm glad there's no God, even though that opinion has absolutely nothing to do with its truth. To some of us, truth matters. So, thanks for watching, if you're still watching, and this is what happens when you're bored on a Wednesday afternoon.